Hello, everyone. Welcome again to Counselor's Couch 101. I'm Jim Stump. If you would like to leave a note or make a suggestion, you can put it in the comments below or send me an email at counselorscouch101@mail.com, just mail.com. Right now, let's talk a little bit about communication. I was once in a seminar class. It was we were in a comfortable room. It was a small group of people. We all knew each other very well, and so we were all kind of like chatting with each other. And the instructor came in and started to do the presentation. And since we had all been chatting earlier, some of the people in the room started chatting back and forth across from, each other, as the presenter was trying to present the material. What the presenter did was he simply walked out of the room when everybody was chatting. He just simply walked away. And then after a second, really quick, I'm looking around and I say, what's this all about? We came for a presentation and apparently we're not getting our presentation. So I figured I'd better go find out what was happening. I went down the hall and I found the presenter in another room, just sort of hanging out, talking to someone else. And I said to him, are we going to do this or not? We're going to have the presentation. Are you going to tell us what you came to tell us, etc.? And he said, oh, are you ready to listen now? And he walked back in the room, and there was a really, really strong lesson for me. I learned very, very well. And the lesson was, if someone isn't listening, there's no point in talking, right? When he came back in the room, he had everyone's attention, and there were no more problems. And he did it without any kind of confrontation whatsoever. He just simply stepped away, not listening. There's no point in my talking, right? I find this works with lots of sorts of people. Folks aren't listening to you. There simply is no reason to try to make a point or get it across. The best you can hope for with that is to get into an argument or to alienate someone or to waste their time, waste your time, etc., etc. You know, I found a technique that works. I think it works well a lot of times, especially when someone is not listening, is to ask them questions, about whatever it is they're talking about. And the questions I want to ask are the questions that are going to cause the person who's speaking to consider the answer and start responding to the types of things that I would have interest in or the people in the room would have interest in. And that causes them to get on a particular track. You can lead a conversation very, very well by asking simple little questions, that don't go very far into causing the person to be distracted. Little questions I'm thinking of, often I'll say something like, well, did that work for you? That's a very powerful question. The person is trying to hold forth and convince you of something, and they're telling you about what they did or what you shouldn't do, or et cetera, et cetera. I just ask them that simple little question, did that work for you? And then I'm quiet and I'm letting them respond to that. And oftentimes I'll say, I just keep questions short and simple and that are going to cause the person to think about what they're saying. So, and what happened with that? How did that turn out for you? That kind of thing. Oftentimes people are talking in order to avoid addressing the situation or the conversation that you want to have with them. They're avoiding it. So I simply ask questions about what they're saying, leading them back into the topic, the subject, and like that. That's a good way to communicate. Another way is to listen carefully, right? I once went to a gathering of I don't know, like a house party sort of a thing, and there was a lady there, and we got into a conversation. And later on, she told a friend of mine. She said, "That guy is brilliant. He really knows how to hold a conversation, and it was really fun to talk to him. I really enjoyed meeting him up. I hope I get to see him again sometime in the future." And afterwards, my friend told me that, and she said to me, "What did you do to her?" I said, "All I did was ask her questions about herself, and I listened. That's all I did." And she thought I was a brilliant conversationalist. It was not true. I was just letting her find the way, let her find the things that were comfortable for her, the things she wanted to share, the points she wanted to make. I just let her do it. I didn't offer any resistance whatsoever. I didn't try to impose my story on what she was saying because she wasn't in the mood to listen. She was in the mood to have an audience and have someone listen to her. So remember that often when we're talking to people, is people want to express themselves. I've had people say, I got to say something quick. I got to say something quick. I say, okay, we'll go ahead and say it, whatever it is. And then what they say is really not all that terribly interesting or important or significant. And after they're done and we talk about that, I say, why did you have to say that so much? And they say something like, I don't know, I just had to get it out. If I didn't say it right then, I was going to forget it. The moment was going to pass and I wouldn't be able to share the idea that I had. So I had to get it out before it was all lost. If we recognize that in people and we see what they're doing, what they're going through emotionally, and respond to their emotional feeling of the moment, we tend to communicate much better. And here's another important point to remember regarding communication. In order for communication to be successful, both people, the speaker and the listener, have to want to communicate. We have to want to share an idea and be understood by the other person. If that is not in place, then we're really rather wasting our time. If the person has no interest in what we're saying to them, I say abandon it and find out what is going to be relevant to them in that moment and what would be beneficial to them. Because if they're not listening, what's the point of my talking? Just let go of it. And it's not a question of ego, it's a question of connecting with that other person. That's the entire point. Why are we talking? We're talking to share information, to get to know one another, and we're talking to connect socially, I hope. If we're not doing that, then why are we there at all? A lot of people tell me they don't like making small talk. I don't either. I have no interest in it, and I don't mean to be rude or anything, but if that's what someone has to offer, that's what we'll talk about. But it won't be my small talk. It'll be their small talk. And if I allow them to say the things that they need to say in that moment, they generally connect to more significant ideas and thoughts and information. And if we're trying to connect with people, that's a really good way to go. Take the time, allow them to express themselves, and take the patience and find out who they are. Once you've connected that way, they're more likely to listen to the things that you want to present to them, right? Communication, it only works if all the people involved in the communication want to communicate. If someone doesn't want to hear what you're saying, they're going to bat it off and fight it off every single step of the way. That's okay. We just bless them and leave it alone. They weren't ready to hear it. They weren't ready to engage in that particular topic. That is not some sort of criticism of me or you if you're speaking. It's just where they are. We recognize it. Stay calm, stay cordial, stay friendly. Let them do what they need to do. Make that connection, and maybe we'll communicate those important ideas at a later date. And that's okay, because we have figured out how to communicate with that person. I hope that helps. If you have any questions or suggestions about any of that, I would love to hear them. I learn a lot more from you than you probably learn from me. But that's because I'm open to your communication. I'll talk with you next time. Thanks for coming.